Welcome back everybody to my channel, Automotive Inquiries. So as we work through the back of that Jimmy, changing out body panels and doing speakers, we got to the front. So the front speakers are obviously completely gone. One of the easiest things again is we're going to show you how to take this door apart. Really easy, take your time, watch your plastics. First things first you're going to do is right behind this little enclosure, there's a Phillips head screw. You're going to take that screw out. And what you're going to do, there's a tab back on the back of this, so you can't pry it directly out. So what we're going to do is we're going to tip it up, pull this out, and tip it out. Okay? One of the reasons why I tell you to tip it out is a lot of people are just going to get in there and be like, oh, it's really hard to pull out. Well, it obviously is, but if you break this plastic, this one is repopped, so you can buy this aftermarket. The thing is, it may not match the other door because the colors may have faded over time. But that's the little tab you're going to watch out for. If you just pull it up, tip it out, and pull it out, you'll have nothing to worry about. After that, you're going to need a 7mm long socket wrench. You're going to reach up underneath this handle, and there's actually 2 of these screws I've already pulled out. So you're going to take that out nice and slow. Now, the last thing we have to do is lift this up and disconnect all those electrical things. Just like the last one, there's a tab holding it on right here. If you try and pry it up a screwdriver, you're going to snap that off, and then this thing's not going to go back down. So the easiest thing to do is take your hand, pop it up, pull it this way. Again, there's that little tab. Easiest thing in the world to break. So, once we get through there, you have your electrical connectors back here. Each one of them is held on by a little tab. So if you can just take that up with your fingernail, a screwdriver, and pull it out. I don't like prying on wiring, and I don't like pulling. If you can pull directly on the connector, he'll save those over time. Once we get in there, we have one more underneath here. We're going to have to push that down. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. This truck is actually in mint condition, so it's never been pulled apart. That was from the factory, so that's why it's so tough. Over time, those will loosen up if you have to take this off multiple times. I'd encourage you not to do that because these plastic retainer clips can get weak over time. Next thing you're going to do, this is actually a body panel remover that's specific for these little Christmas tree things. But what you can do is just reach down here and kind of pull it up. You're going to go behind here with that till you find one of those retentioning posts. And you're going to hear those kind of pop loose. Again, you want to slide that down the door until you get to each one of those posts, making sure you're not going underneath that plastic, but you're going between the door panel and the actual door panel itself. Once we get to those, again, you're going to find these panels basically up here. Now that's one of the little retaining clips. Luckily it didn't break, so we're going to be able to reuse that on the back of this door panel when we're ready to reassemble it after the door speaker installed. There we go. A couple more over here. We'll be ready to lift this door panel off. Now there's one more way up here at the top. I like to use my fingers if I can get to it. My little clip remover behind there. And there we go. Once you get to this point of the door, it should just be a matter of basically lifting up, pulling it off, and setting it aside. Now you can see where all these retention clips were. This one actually wasn't even in the door panel, probably from the factory. So that might help alleviate one of the little rattles that the door may have had. Now once you do that, be real careful not to drop down its face, as these plastics can be damaged pretty easy. Last but not least, once we get to this door speaker, like we talked about in my rear speaker install video, you can actually see how this cone has torn away over time and is basically useless. So we are going to reuse this housing. We're not going to reuse this foam. For this, you're going to need a little Torx head bit. There's 4 screws holding this in. Now we're probably not going to reuse these screws because the new kit came with some that we're going to have to drill some pilot holes for and do the wiring like we did in the last one. We're going to leave the factory wiring in there. We're going to solder the new wires to a lower piece of that wire itself. So if you ever wanted to come in and have somebody install some stuff, they can just use the connector later. So again, this is actually held in just like the upper clips. And we're going to grab that, push it down a little bit. And it's a little tough. But there we go. Here's the factory speaker. There's a reason why you're hearing that pop and bang, and that's why most people will send all the music to the back over time, because those old paper speakers will then die out. Again, use your proper diagram that you're going to find online per your specific vehicle for that. Again, you can comment below and I'll find out what your truck you have and help you find out the wiring diagram itself. Now the dash speakers in this truck are good. They're just tweeters, so they didn't actually degrade like these other ones did. But what we'll do is on my next video, I'm going to have everything soldered up. We'll show you how the soldering looks. We'll have the pilot holes drilled and we'll reinstall this panel for you.